Alright, today we're going to talk about solving by completing the square. Okay, this has a lot of steps to it, but don't be intimidated. Okay? You guys can handle this. It's nothing that you haven't seen before. Very similar. It just adds a few little pieces that you may not have seen before. So, solving by completing the square is just another way that you are going to learn to solve quadratics. Alright, so here's your quadratic that's given. Your first step is to check that the leading coefficient is 1. Okay, it needs to be 1. For this one it already is. For the ones coming up you might have to change some things. Okay, so first step, write the equation so x terms are on one side and constant on the other. This means that we keep our x squared plus 6x on one side, and we're going to add 7 to both sides to get our constant on the other side. Okay, step 2, complete the square. Add b over 2 squared to both sides, because you have to do it to both sides. Okay, so I'm going to figure out what is my b over 2 squared, which is 6 over 2 squared, which is 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, so I'm going to add 9 to each side. Alright. Now that I've added 9 to each side, we can write this part as a binomial squared. If you notice, this is one of those special cases. Special cases are the key to completing the square. Alright, if you notice, this is x plus 3 squared. That equals 16. Alright, now all we have to do is do the square root to both sides. X plus 3 equals 16 squared is 4. And now we solve for x. But remembering that when you take the square root of something, you not only have the positive version, you also have the negative version. So x plus 3 equals 4, but x plus 3 also equals negative 4. Solving for x, you get x equals 1. And solving for x here, you get x equals negative 7. So those are your final answer solutions. Okay, moving along. This one has the same idea. So if you've got that down, with the steps right here to help you through it, go for it. Pause the video, run through it yourself. The best way to learn is to try things on your own. Okay, so keeping my x terms on one side and adding 11 to both sides to move that 11 onto this side. Alright, check. Step 1. Step 2, complete the square. b over 2 squared. My b is negative 4. This simplifies down to negative 2 squared, which gives me 4. What you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals 11 plus 4 is 15. Alright, now our job is to write as a binomial squared. So if you notice, this is a special case. X minus 2 squared. Because of this minus right here, you must have a minus in your binomial squared. Negative 2 times negative 2 will give you that positive 4. Negative 2 added together twice gives you that negative 4. setting that equal to 15. Okay, we can square root both sides. X minus 2 equals square root of 15. Positive and negative version. Now I'm just going to keep it as the square root of 15 at this point, because it's a lot easier than writing the very complex decimal that it will end up to be. So I'm going to do x minus 2 equals the positive square root of 15, and x minus 2 equals the negative square root of 15. Adding 2 to both sides in both cases, I get x equals 2 plus the square root of 15, and I get x equals 2 minus the square root of 15. Now you can go ahead and you can get a calculator out and you can find the actual number value that this will be. But since I like to just have my answer right there rather than try to round and write out a decimal for this, this is how I'm going to write it. Okay. Moving right along. The next one's going to be a little bit different. Alright, if you notice, this example does not have the coefficient of 1. It has our coefficient of 4. Alright, but the same steps apply. We want all of our x terms on one side. So I'm going to add that 6 to get it over here. 2 plus 6 is 8. Alright, now our next step needs to be to get that coefficient of just 1. In order to get a coefficient of 1, I have to divide by 4. And we do that everywhere. Alright, so those two will cancel to give me just a plain old x squared. Plus 6 over 4 is the same as 3 over 2x equals 8 divided by 4, 2. Now at this point, now we can complete the square and add that b over 2 squared. Alright, that gives me a b of 3 over 2 divided by 2 squared. Alright, now at this point you could change this into a decimal and plug it into your calculator and figure it out. I'm going to do it the fractional way just because I like to practice my properties of fractions. And it might be helpful for you to see this as well for times when you can't use your calculator. 3 over 2 dividing by 2 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/2. So I'm going to do that instead. And all of that is still squared. And if I multiply straight across, I get 3/4 squared. Now when we have division squared, we do the square root of the top over the square root of the bottom. This is my b over 2 squared. Alright, moving along. I want to be sure to add this to both sides. So, first things first, x squared plus 3/2 x plus 9/16 equals 2. So at this point, we still have a binomial squared. Even though it's kind of hard to see at this point, we still do have our binomial squared. The root of x squared is x. The root of 9 over 16 is 3 over 4. I know it's going to be addition in the middle, because all we've got is addition. Squared equals 2. From here, we just move on. Square root of both sides. X plus 3/4 equals the positive version of the square root of 2 and the negative version. Let's see if I can find a place to put that. Alright. From here we do exactly the same thing and just get x by itself. So subtracting 3/4, I'm going to get square root of 2 minus 3/4. Here, same idea, subtracting 3/4, I get negative square root of 2 minus 3/4. Now you can go ahead, plug that into your calculator, and it will give you a decimal. I'm going to just keep it like that, because why go that extra step when I've already got a solid answer that I know is for sure 100% the answer. Okay? That is probably one of the hardest ones you will get. I don't imagine you seeing a lot of these kinds of problems on your homework tonight. But keep an eye out for those perfect root fractions. You might be able to spy some of those in there. Okay, other than that, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you can get started on the assignment. Good luck.